So I'm at a school, and a lot of the kids are over dramatic about the whole Trump win. Talking about how they're gonna move to Mexico, move to Japan, move to Canada, how the whole world is over, and how basically it's a loss. You know, their lives come to an end, we're all about to die, Trump about to drop the bomb, all of that. I was up last night watching the race to 270. I was following CNN, following them on their app, trying to see how many more counties still had to report, looking at the contested states where Trump had a lead, and seeing that as they were in the 90th percentile, the gap was getting bigger. I figured after a while that there was nothing else that I could do and that there was no use being stressed over it, so I decided to go to sleep. When I was asleep, I had this dream. Even before Trump won, I had a dream that I woke up and he did win. Trump is president. And I just felt this despair. I felt like the kids do now. I felt as if, oh my God, the world is over. He's gonna drop a bomb. As the president and the commander-in-chief, he has the ability to drop a nuclear bomb. Oh, he's gonna elect the most conservative judge ever. We're never gonna get any Supreme Court cases in our favor. I couldn't understand how people could allow a bigot to get into office. Somebody who would just play with the notion of building a wall or just deporting a good amount of people from the United States. Somebody who would just toy with the notion of starting a war. To me, that didn't make sense. I couldn't understand how people could be so unreasonable, how people could be so lackadaisical. I couldn't understand how people had such a lack of caution. Somewhere in that dream, I started to realize that this was similar to something that was going on in my life. I haven't really spoke on it, but I'm currently going through a divorce. And as of right now, the custody of our children, the full custody, full legal custody and full physical custody, not shared, not joint, is what's being contested. In regards to the divorce, and similar to the whole Trump or the presidency, I couldn't understand why it would be full instead of joint. I couldn't understand why me being a father who wants to be there for my children, a positive individual, not on drugs, not doing drugs, not dealing drugs, why a person would not want me to be responsible or involved in my children's life. I couldn't understand why somebody would not want the father to be there for his daughter, to make sure that she has a good relationship with men. I can understand why somebody would not want a father to be there for his son, to make sure he could be a positive role model. I couldn't understand why somebody would think that it's okay for the father to not be in the child's life. Because without custody, without legal or physical custody, there would be no guarantee that I would be there after school. There'd be no guarantee that the kids would be able to stay with me. There'd be no guarantee that I'd be able to have a say where my kids went to school, the educational decisions that they chose. It was no guarantee that I'd be able to have a say in the way my kids are raised. There'd be no guarantee that I'd be able to see my kids during holidays and to break bread with them. And I realized that this is a very similar scenario to what's going on with the Trump situation, the presidency. In both situations, we're worried now that we won't have a say. In the divorce, I'm worried that as a father, I won't be able to have a say as far as how my children are reared. And in the presidency, us as minorities are worried that we won't have a say as far as how our country is ran. And what we need as far as our politicians to consider in regards to our interests. In both situations, as a citizen who felt as if his interests had just been abandoned by the rest of the country, and as a father who feels as if his parental interests had just been abandoned. It was easy to sort of like fall into despair. So what happens if you lose your interest? Do you just give up? You just become a victim? The natural thing to do is to be like, okay, you'll learn. When the nation goes bad, when the neighborhoods go bad, when the schools go bad, when there's rioting, when there's violence, you'll learn what it means to take somebody's interest. Or as a father, when the kids actually are raised without a father and that has that effect on them, you'll learn. But what sense does it come from playing a victim? I realized that nothing comes from it. There's no benefit from it. And in the end, life goes on. As a father, if my worst case scenario happens, if I don't have any parental rights, no, take that back. If I don't have any custody over my kids, how fair would it be to them to give up on them? I still have agency in the situation. I can always fight to change the decision. I can always try to overturn and dissuade the judge's opinion. Even from the position of not having custody or of not having power in that situation, I can always try to influence the people who do have power in that situation, who do have a greater say. They may mean that I have to develop a better relationship with their mother, but either way, I still have power in the situation. I have agency. With the time that I do have with them, it would be on me to make the most of it. Same thing as far as being a citizen. Even though Trump won this election, we're still citizens of the United States. We can't be victims. We have human agency. That's something that God given us. That God has given us. That power to create change based off our choices and our actions. They can't be taken away from us. Because no matter what, we still have a choice. The same way we had a choice to vote or not vote, we have a choice to act. We could try to play the victim role, but in that case, we're basically just giving in to whatever is going against our interests. Our human agency gives us the power to fight back. And I don't literally mean fight. What I mean is fight the system, to change the system. Or to create a different system and to structure ourselves within that. We're never forced to do anything. So a rhyme I once made: fed up with institutions that's diluted with pollution, rather to reverse the trend and resolve a revolution. Now my own evolution led to the resolution. I'm part of that problem since I ain't with the solution. If you're not changing things for the better, you're the problem. Whether Trump in office, whether Obama's in office, no matter who's in office, you're the problem if you're not making things better. And the fact of the matter is, this is our situation. So what are you going to do with it? How are we going to make the most of it? How can we make it a brighter day from this election happening as it has? What's the possibilities? One possibility is we could use this to wake ourselves up. We use this as a splash of water to our face to let us know that it's time for a change. And I'm talking about a real legitimate change. I mean, a lot of people have said that whether a Democrat is in office, whether a Republican is in office, it's going to be the same thing. We've had the same, for the most part, two-party system that hasn't really created any difference in the way politics is handled in this country. Maybe we can utilize this to stop relying on the national government as a crutch and to focus on our local politics. Focus on our local and state elections. Focus on the people that actually make the rules that truly guide our lives. Yes, the federal government does have a say in our lives, but not as much as far as the state or the local governments. We can utilize this to mobilize on the local and state levels. Further, even past politics, we can utilize this to focus on our communities. In some places, Detroit being one of them, you may have a city that's majority black, or you may even go into some places in the South where you have a city that's majority Latino. However, the state is majority white. So from a state government level, it may be difficult to change the laws that affect those individuals. However, they could focus on their communities and creating structures in their communities that protect the community. They could focus on building their community so that the state population as a whole doesn't have a say. They can be focusing on their neighborhood watches. Making sure that their neighbor is treating their other neighbor as they would like to be treated. Make sure that they're holding each other accountable to be the best person that they can be in their community. In the end, we have to realize that we are the solution. We still have the power to act. And we need to get over this little fact, which in the end will just be a small fact or occurrence that occurred in the whole timeline of humanity. We need to make the most out of this situation. We can't give up. We still have to push. I once saw a video on YouTube where a guy mentioned a superhero plot where Bruce Wayne, the alter ego for Batman, was knocked out unconscious. And he was kidnapped by his rogues gallery, the villains, Joker, Penguin, whatever. And he had no idea who he was. He didn't realize that he was Batman. So this entire time, while Bruce Wayne is tied up, he's wondering, where's the superhero going to come from? When is the superhero going to arrive? When is somebody going to save him from these villains who's putting his life in jeopardy? When is somebody going to take him out of this situation? Right before the villains closed in to seal the deal and take Bruce Wayne's life, he remembered something. He remembered he was Batman. He remembered he was the person that he was waiting for. And he acted upon it. He figured out a way to get himself untied. He figured out a way to escape. And he figured out a way to defeat the villains. He figured out a way to use his personal agency to change the situation. We need to realize that we're Batman. We need to realize that we're the heroes that we've been waiting for. We can't rely on some black leader, some president, some person other than ourselves to change the situation anymore. We need to realize that we can't rely on the judge. We can't rely on the court. We can't rely on the Congress. We can utilize them, but we can't rely on them to make the change. That change is going to come from us. That's the one thing that this election can possibly fire up in us. That will to create a change. A legitimate change. So don't be down, because in the end, it's not going to change anything. You have to make the change. You have to realize you are the solution. We have to decide how we're going to mold our future political candidates to be the candidates and the politicians that we need and desire, not to just accept what we've historically accepted. It's only 4 years, but we can immediately act to make our communities better and to make ourselves better as people. Peace.